I love changing my home environment to change the energy. This is Tracy with Tracy Talks, a podcast about life, looking at life from a new perspective to gain wisdom and understanding in hopes to know yourself more. I would consider myself someone who has a problem with moving things around in my house. I'm not sure it's an addiction, but certainly it's one of those noticeable characteristics about me. I don't leave the things in my home in the same place. I routinely shift them around to different rooms, different configurations. I love the way it just changes the flow of the energy. When I first dove headfirst into spirituality, I was kind of exploring several different modalities. I was exploring every possible thing that I could to basically try to bring myself back into balance. I really love being in my home. It is my safe space. It is a security for me. And so I don't like a lot of disruptions in my home. Now, I understand this now. Back when I started, I didn't know that. I didn't know those qualities about me. All I know is I'm drawn to changing the flow. And when I first started exploring different modalities, I came across Feng Shui. And I really love the idea of that. I can dive headfirst into something when I get excited. So I bought some books, I got the layout of the house, and I started mapping out the quadrants of my house. Feng Shui is based on different areas of the home correspond to different areas of your life, much like the chakras, much like the houses in astrology. So all of these modalities have similar overlapping characteristics. I bought the book, I got the layout of my house, and I started mapping. I started mapping all of these areas. I then applied all of the concepts that I could understand in the book, and I started rearranging items in my house to improve my energy. I came across Feng Shui when I was still intensely searching. I was searching for flow. I was searching for cohesiveness. I was searching for more connection within myself, more connection with my spouse. I was really trying to gain more peace within me. Feng Shui looked like a great solution. The principles of Feng Shui is everything has an elemental quality to it. Everything has a color association. And so creating this natural flow by changing the quadrants of the house, rearranging the colors so they're in the appropriate quadrant, rearranging your items so they are aligned with the element that they're associated with. Then there's this part of Feng Shui where you introduce new items into your home to negate potential problem areas in your home. And there are lots of perceived negative energy and how you can rectify and resolve those in your house. With Feng Shui, a lot of things are either good or bad, depending on the element, depending on the energy, depending on what direction it's facing. I liked Feng Shui because it really could help me identify what was a perceived problem, what was going to increase the flow, where was I going to put my energy. And I really worked to create my home based on the philosophies of Feng Shui. And I thought Feng Shui was great because here I was really trying to find something in my life to connect to. I was really trying to find the root of my peace, the root of my stability, a good foundation where I could really use as a platform for life. I just thought Feng Shui was going to be great because here I could just change my house. I could redecorate my house And it was magically going to change all of the feelings inside of me. It was magically going to erase all of my sadness, all of my frustration, all of these emotions that I was trying to navigate through. Me changing the flow of energy in my house was really supposed to change my life. There was this philosophy that if I added a few crystals and I could create flow in areas of the house that didn't have it, that was going to open up the flow in my life. And boy, didn't that sound great. And it really does, because looking at all of the stuff inside of me, looking at all of my emotions, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go deep into that. I just wanted that to go away. I wanted that out of my body. I wanted that out of my memory. I wanted all of those emotions to just magically go away. And Feng Shui was that answer for me. It was this amazing technique that I could just move items in my home and magically everything was going to fall into place in my life. But you know what? That didn't happen. It didn't happen. And while Feng Shui, I love it, and I still apply the principles now, I still try to add all of the elements into my room. I try to put a pop of color in a room, and I like to focus on and create a room that has good energy or energy that's appropriate for the room. But I no longer expect me adding and changing and shifting items in my home is going to fully change the energy and the flow and the feelings in my body. That's what I was expecting. I wanted some magical event to happen. I wanted to change my house, and I wanted it to magically change how I felt. I wanted it to change my life. I wanted all of these wonderful things to happen, and it didn't. It didn't happen. I had to do the work. I had to do the emotional work that's not fun. I didn't want to look at those things. I just wanted them to go away. I didn't want to understand them. I just wanted them to go away. And while creating a space that is relaxing and calming and nurturing for me is very important, it didn't just magically fix the areas that felt broken. This was happening at a time when I was feeling a disconnection from my then husband. I'd really worked on my house and thought that I had created a space based on all of the Feng Shui philosophies. But I still didn't believe that I had accomplished that, so I actually hired a professional to come over and perform a consultation. And there weren't too many things that she really pointed out. However, there was one area that she gave me feedback in. That was the relationship area of my home. When she went to the area and showed me the items I had, all of those items I had in that area were in sets of 3. Most of the time when you look at a partnership in numerology or any type of modality where you're reading into the energy of it, a relationship is based on the number 2, on duality, on duals. And I had everything in that area organized in sets of 3s. It was just an interesting assessment to realize that I was subconsciously not recognizing our partnership. I was subconsciously identifying with something else. I wanted Feng Shui to magically change my life. I wanted it to change how I felt. I wanted it to change and improve my interactions. I wanted it to bring more peace and love and joy and abundance and all of these wonderful attributes. I wanted it to increase all of these feelings and emotions. I wanted my life to improve. And I think that's a pretty standard desire for most people. Most people naturally do want their circumstances to improve. But again, I was not wanting to identify or address the root circumstances that was going on in my life. Because it's easier to look at a section of my house and say, okay, how can I improve my connection with my spouse? And maybe I'll put candles in sets of twos, and maybe I'll change the color, and voila, my relationship magically improves. But that doesn't happen. Well, it didn't happen for me. I mean, if you can get that to happen for you, that's great. Because the problems were still there between my spouse and I. We still weren't on the same page. We still didn't know how to communicate. We still didn't know how to support each other. We still didn't know how to show love. We were still communicating in different love languages. We weren't communicating with loving, supporting comments and interactions. And then the hard work has to come in. If I want something different, if I want a different experience, then I've got to address what is really wrong. What is really wrong is I maybe didn't marry somebody who was the best person for me. That's what's really wrong. I wanted Feng Shui to fix that because I didn't know how to fix that. Or I did know how to fix that, but that means walking away. That means having hard discussions. That means saying things that are going to hurt somebody. That means that I had to look at my own truth. I really wanted Feng Shui to figure all of that out, to fix the mess that I had created, to fix the situation that I had gotten into. I love that there are so many of these modalities that we can bring into our daily life. I love Feng Shui. I love introducing the elements. I love everything that's behind the philosophy of it. But the reality is, it isn't going to fix the root problem. It didn't for me. I still had to do the hard work. I still had to say the things. I still had to figure out how to correct and change the things that needed to be worked on. Do I believe that there is a direct correlation between the state of my home and the state of my emotions? Absolutely. Do I believe there is a direct correlation with the energy of my home and the energy of my emotions? Absolutely. I do believe there is causal. But I believe that the state of my emotions is what creates and influences the state of my home. But I simply can't just change my home and have it work back to my emotions. They work together, but it doesn't work back in that same way. Feng Shui was another step in my spiritual path. It just was never going to save me from myself. Thank you for listening to this podcast of Tracy Talks. Please like and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. And until next time, we meet again.